Recently, Yale forensic psychologist Dr. Bandy Lee spoke with the DC report at Raw Story, where she pointed out that Donald Trump would likely not hesitate to cause violence here in the United States, or at least inspire violence here in the United States, if it meant he could retain power and still be the president of the United States. Now, this is obviously terrifying. And also in the interview that the DC report for Raw Story conducted, she repeatedly lamented the fact that the American Psychiatric Association has essentially put a gag order on all mental health professionals because so many of them had been speaking out. And I know, of course, there is the Atwater rule. That one's been there for a long time. But she did point out that since Trump came along, they've had to put out a new gag order because they don't want these mental health professionals, diagnosing from a distance, even though we desperately need mental health professionals to tell us repeatedly how dangerous this man is. That's a bad move by the American Psychiatric Association, and Dr. Lee made clear that. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to read some quotes from her from this particular interview, and it shows, and she is absolutely one of the best there is, shows how bad Trump has been, but it also rightfully calls out the enablers. Some of them might surprise you. So here we go. We are seeing the last bout of just how much he is willing and able to destroy norms and to push the limits. It is clear he does not intend to leave without placing us in further danger and without obstructing the president-elect's agenda as much as possible. Different forms of violence are interrelated. Now, this was in response to a question about, could he cause violence? Could his supporters cause violence? So here's what she says. Different forms of violence are interrelated. And our culture has maximally cultivated conditions for violence through extreme economic inequality, which divides the population into superior and inferior. When vast segments of the population are deemed inferior, they will be inclined to try to escape the shame by resorting to other hierarchies, such as white supremacy or gender superiority. These are what I call structural violence, and structural violence is the most lethal form of violence as well as the most potent cause of behavioral violence. So she, kind of calling some of us out, and apparently rightfully so. We do shame them. We do cast them as inferior. And that is something clearly we need to work on and we need to not do. I didn't know this. And that's why it's always great to come across stories like these where you yourself learn something. I've been doing this a long time. And I have unfortunately spent a lot of time mocking these individuals. And be honest, I'm not going to stop mocking these individuals. But I also always try to a degree, say that, look, it's not every one of them. But apparently even that may not be good enough. So Dr. Lee continues. Politicians, networks, and social media are still giving him a platform without realizing how destructive this can be, capable even of disrupting an election through psychological manipulation. Now, those are the other people who are at fault here. The Republican politicians, the social media outlets, which I have repeatedly said have to start banning him and removing him. Don't wait till he loses that world leader status, Twitter. Do it now. You have a majority of Republicans in this country right now, your rank and file, average, everyday Republicans, who actually think Joe Biden stole the election. They wouldn't be able to even think this if the media wasn't covering Trump's lies as if there may be some truth to it. They wouldn't be able to think this if Donald Trump wasn't saying it on Twitter all the time. Oh, but Twitter put the little blue lettering that says, hey, this isn't true. People who already don't believe it, don't believe it. People who do believe it aren't going to be, oh man, it's got the blue thing. I can't believe it now. That's not what happens. You solve the problem by removing the Twitter user. And then she concludes here, he shows that he would not hesitate to cause violence and mayhem to stay in power, in which case there may not even be an inauguration day if we're not vigilant. And that's the key there. We have to be vigilant. There have been numerous stories out just this week, reports, everything. And I've covered them both here and on with Ring of Fire as well, talking about the fact that you have right-wingers inspired by Trump who wanted to kidnap the governor of Michigan and do so much worse. You have right-wingers, Trump supporters, calling in death threats to election officials in 5 swing states that gave Biden the election. You have Trump supporters saying they're willing to get their guns and launch an insurrection against the federal government itself. They're just waiting on Trump to give them the word. So what she is talking about here, it's not even hypothetical. It's certainly not rhetorical. She's saying, pay attention to what's happening. Be vigilant, as she says. Pay attention because this is there. This is out there. This is happening. Luckily, thank God, he hasn't given his word and said, do it, folks. But if he does, we are suddenly looking at a new form of chaos that we have not seen in this country since the Civil War. Except at least the Civil War was over an issue. You know, we wanted to get rid of slaves. We wanted to get rid of that institution. This one is just purely, I don't want my cult leader to not be president. And damn it, I just did it again, didn't I? And that's the kind of thing I have to be more conscious of. I can't just openly mock them like that anymore. But it's not all gloom and doom. Yes, he could inspire violence. Yes, he could call his people to action. They're literally sitting there waiting for him to call that. But Dr. Lee does say, she recommends these 3 steps on how we can move forward as a country and help these people. You know, not mock them, not make fun of them, not treat them as if they're inferior, but to help them move forward. And here they are. Number 1, you have to remove the offending agent, which is the influential person with severe symptoms. That's Donald Trump. So number 1, first thing we have to do to help these people, get him gone. Removal of the offending agent. Yeah, we did that with the election. It's a little tougher than you'd think. Number 2, dismantling cultic programming and propaganda, which have vastly increased in recent years. That's what I've been saying. You got to get him off social media. You have to ban those accounts for spreading lies and propaganda and fomenting hate. You also have to do something about Fox News. Thursday evening, Tucker Carlson came out and admitted that he no longer believes the administration's claims about voter fraud. That's huge. Tucker Carlson's a horrible waste of a human. But him doing that is so very helpful. Like, that's a massive step forward. And then step 3, fixing the socioeconomic conditions that give rise to poor collective mental health in the first place. And this goes back to 2016, right? That economic anxiety that people said, don't cover up racism with economic. Guess what? Both those things can exist. You can have people who voted for Trump because they're racist. And you can also have people who voted for Trump because he said, there is problems in your life. I am going to make those problems go away and your life is going to be better. Both of those statements are true. And you do have to fix it. You do have to give people something better so that they're not fooled by the next person that comes along and says, follow me into this windowless van because I've got lots of candy for you. That's what happened with Donald Trump. And we've all seen how that turned out.